Opening day is here. The Tigers, though, in Los Angeles, a little more sunny than right here. But always the bright, sunny personality of Evan Petzold from the Detroit Free Press joining us. And, Evan, this is like a holiday for so many people, especially whenever you look at a team that made the postseason last year, despite the 0.2% chance that everybody knows about. After making it to the ALDS for this Tigers team, I think a lot of people want to know, what is the next step in your viewpoint?
Yeah, well, A.J. Hinch set the goal going back to the winter meetings in December when he said, hey, we want to win the American League Central. And that's something the Tigers haven't done since 2014, and now that's going to be the goal moving forward. And obviously, you look at what they did, winning the wild card, then going to the ALDS, and obviously you lose to the Cleveland Guardians, and that's disappointing. But can they get back there? And then can they take that next step? I think that's really the big question that people are going to ask. But A.J. Hinch has set the goal, win the American League Central.
And win today is what he said on the call yesterday. When you look at this team in spring training, though, they had so many pieces to work with heading into 2025. Missed out on the big one with Alex Bregman, but you were down in Florida for most of the time. What is the biggest thing that stood out to you about this 2025 ball club?
I think it's the chemistry. I think it's the way the team operates day in, day out. Like, it doesn't seem like there are these unrealistic expectations of like, hey, we got to go out there and we need to win the American League Central. We got to get back to it. It's like, no, we expect that. That's what we're going to do. And that's kind of the vibe that I got from the Tigers when you went and down there in spring training. You go to Lakeland and you kind of want to read the room. What is the room kind of like? And it's like, okay, this is the same exact team that we saw at the end of last season, which to me was really encouraging, because when you have the same kind of group of guys in that room and they're all kind of acting the same way that they were down the stretch, it's like, okay, like there's something to be excited about here. Whereas, like, I remember going back to before when they got Javi Baez, they got Eduardo Rodriguez, Torkelson and Green were just coming up. Like, there was all this excitement, right? It was bubbly. This is more business-like, it seems like. And I think that's a really good sign for the Tigers going into the 2025 season.
Same clubhouse at the end of the year, minus the beer showers and us getting soaked and interviewing people.
Exactly.
Whenever you look at this team, though, I mean, the heart of it, they've said it this season, is going to be this starting rotation. You have Tarek Skubal coming back. They were able to go and get Jack Flaherty to come back into the mix. Reese Olson pitched well last year, and then you round out the back end with two serviceable guys in Casey Mize and Jackson Jobe. What do you think the capabilities of that rotation is? I mean, is it potentially a top 5 rotation in baseball?
100%. That is exactly what it can be. And that's what again, that's what it is when you have Tarek Skubal leading the way. This is a guy that went out and won the American League Cy Young Award. So when you have that guy as the anchor of that rotation, you feel really good. But then you go out and you get Jack Flaherty, you bring him back. That was not something the Tigers expected to happen. They went into the offseason thinking, you know, we're not going to be able to bring Jack back. Jack's going to go elsewhere, and Jack's going to sign a big contract. Well, the market didn't turn out the way that he expected it to, and then he had to pivot at the end, and he came back to the Tigers. But the Tigers were not expecting to have Jack Flaherty. So now you have the surprise of Tarek Skubal, Jack Flaherty. You feel really good about Reese Olson. You know what he can be. I think he's like one developmental piece away from being really, really good, from being an all-star caliber pitcher. That's the kind of guy that Reese Olson can be. And then you look at Jackson Jobe, and the upside is American League Rookie of the Year. Like, if Jackson Jobe can win AL Rookie of the Year, we're talking about a really good 1 through 4, and then don't sleep on Casey Mize, who was probably the biggest surprise of spring training. Like, he looks completely different. He looks like everything the Tigers would have wanted out of him when they selected him #1 overall in 2018. So you have Casey Mize, and he looks like a brand new pitcher, reborn. He's throwing his splitter harder than he ever has before, but he's missing bats, getting swings and misses, getting strikeouts. Like, if Casey Mize is the #2 or #3, like, I would not be surprised. But Casey Mize is supposed to be the #5, right? Yeah. So that tells you how strong this rotation could be. As long as they stay healthy, they are going to be dangerous.
It seems like this spring training, you bring up Casey Mize, it was the resurgence of the Tigers' #1 overall picks, because Spencer Torkelson had a great spring. I mean, what is it, 5 home runs and 50 at-bats after the season that he went through in 2023, getting demoted, coming back up for the postseason. What have you seen as the difference in Torque going into this year? Because at this point, they are going to need him with some of the injuries they are battling.
Yeah, I love what Spencer Torkelson did. Like, you remember going back to the offseason, the Tigers, they went and they signed Gleyber Torres to play second base, and then they moved Colt Keith to first base. And that left Spencer Torkelson on the outside looking in, coming into spring training. But Scott Harris, the Tigers' president of baseball operations, he called Spencer Torkelson when they signed Torres and moved Keith to first base, and he said, hey, look, there's still an opportunity for you here. If you go and you produce and you have a big spring, you're going to be getting DH at bats. You're going to be getting backup first baseman at bats. And it seems like Spencer Torkelson now comes into the season as the primary designated hitter for the Tigers, and they'll sprinkle in some first base as well. But I love that he took it and he ran with it. He made real adjustments. He looks more athletic in the batter's box. His swing, it looks more athletic. It's not as robotic. You know, in the past, it was a groove swing, as they would call it, where it just continues to go through the strike zone, kind of in that same path. Now, he's athletic, where he can go, if there's a pitch outside, he can go get it, drive it the other way. If it's inside, he can trust his body, trust his hands to turn on it and pull the ball. Like, I think the way that he's approaching it in the batter's box, it's way more athletic. And then the approach on top of it, too, like what his game plan is every time is like, I'm going to try to hit a line drive over the second baseman's head. And if I'm late, then I'm going the other way. And if I'm early, then I'm pulling it. But let's not think pull. Let's think go over the second baseman's head and send that ball out there into right center field, as opposed to trying to pull everything and hit a bunch of home runs. Like, his approach is different, and at the same time, too, the swing mechanics look really good. He's way more athletic.
It sounds like what you're saying, he's being more instinctual this year
100%.
than maybe just relying on the expectations that come with being the #1 overall pick.
Definitely. I mean, he's leaning on his instincts for sure, but at the same time, like, he's not getting too robotic. Like, that was the big thing, is that the swing was just the same swing. And so when you have the same swing and you're not adjustable, pitchers can pitch you a certain way that they know that your bat path is not going to be able to get to the ball that they throw. And if they can pitch around your bat path, they're going to get you out. But now he's more adjustable. His swing looks different. He looks more athletic. And so now they can't pitch him the same way over and over and over again and expect the same results. They're going to have to beat him in different ways. And he's going to keep pitchers guessing. I think that's a really good sign for him.
A very unpredictable batter, it seems like. But this lineup, it seems very unpredictable right now for the Tigers. Matt Vierling is out. Who knows how long Parker Meadows is going to be out? Any concerns about the offense for the Tigers going into this season? Are we going to see more games where the rotation and the bullpen allow only 1-2 runs and they're still losing games?
Well, and that was the thing. Like, last year, it was pitching and defense that carried them, and it's going to have to carry them again this season. Parker Meadows, you mentioned the impact there. He's going to be out until late May at the earliest.
Wow.
So it's going to be a while before Parker Meadows comes back. And the problem there is, like, when Parker Meadows got a hit last year, the Tigers were 33-11. 33-11 when Parker Meadows got a hit, and now he's not going to be in the lineup until late May. That's concerning to me. That's your leadoff hitter. That's your everyday center fielder. He provides value, you know, with the bat, with the glove, with the speed on the bases. That's a huge loss for me. And so, yeah, I think it is going to have to come down to pitching and defense. Once again, is going to have to save the day. But, like, Riley Green can't do this by himself. Kerry Carpenter's got to stay healthy. Kerry Carpenter, when he's right, he can mash.
We saw it in the postseason.
Yeah, he can mash, but he's got to stay healthy, right? Otherwise, like, Riley Green cannot do this all by himself. And the Gleyber Torres addition, it's going to help him out a little bit on offense. Colt Keith, can he hit for more power? That's a big question. But again, like, Riley Green, he's a real dude, but he cannot do it all by himself. We'll see if a supporting cast can help elevate the Tigers. They're going to need it, though. They're going to need as much offense as they can get.
And there was a big supporting cast member that they did not get, and that, of course, is Alex Bregman. How much do you think that not hinders him, but hurts him in a way this year, not getting Bregman to come to Detroit?
Oh, it definitely hurts them when you look at what they have at third base, and it's a platoon. It's Andy Ibanez and Zach McKinstry at third base. Like, is that what you want at third base, or do you want Alex Bregman, right? Yeah. I mean, this is a guy who's a two-time All-Star, two-time World Series champion. He's going to bat in the middle of your order. Like, I don't know. Andy Ibanez is really good against lefties. Zach McKinstry, like, he's had 2 good months. And, you know, in the other months that he's had, it's been hitting around 200. Like, he's a 200 hitter aside from 2 really good months. Andy Ibanez, he's only good against lefties. Like, you would love to just have Alex Bregman in your lineup, plug him in, let him play. But Alex Bregman's Boston Red Sox, and the Tigers have to move on without him.
And he came from Houston, and Andy Ibanez had a pretty good game in Houston in the postseason. Maybe that version can step up for the Tigers.
Hopefully so. Hopefully
we shall see. One final question for you. So many expectations for this team after making the postseason here in Detroit. Where do you set the bar for success for the Tigers in 2025?
Well, it's getting beyond where they were last year. I'm not saying
that was pretty deep into the postseason, too.
Right. I'm not saying they got to go out there and win the World Series, right? I think that's tough expectations to put on anyone, because it's really, really, really hard to win the World Series. Even when you have a loaded team like the Los Angeles Dodgers, like, it's still really difficult to go all the way and win. So I don't want to place unrealistic expectations on them, but you made it to the ALDS. Can you get to the ALCS, right? Can you win the American League Central? Can you win your division? That's what A.J. Hinch set the goal. So that's what I'm going to hold them to. I'm going to hold them to winning the AL Central and then obviously moving past where they were last year. I think they have the pitching to do it. I just don't know if they have the offense to do it. That's going to be the big question mark to watch.
A fountain of knowledge right here on the Detroit Tigers. Evan Petzold from the Free Press, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
The Tigers take on the Dodgers tonight, and then opening day at Comerica Park. That is coming up on Friday, April 4th.